Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be doing another blind taste test rankings video. Now, the way these videos work, for anybody that's not seen one of our previous blind taste test rankings videos, is we have 5 cups of coffee over here, we have 5 bags of coffee over here. We're trying to identify which of these cups is which of these bags based off of taste alone. Then we're going to be ranking them in order of our favorites to our least favorite. And there's a theme behind each and every one of these videos. And the theme behind this video is trying out H&S Coffee Roasters Altered DNA coffees. So the backstory behind this is that H&S recently released a handful of coffees that are altered or processed in an unusual manner, including the 2 that we have at the front right here, one of which has notes reminiscent of a pizza, and the other has a gochujang note. And while I'm typically a bigger fan of washed, cleaner coffees, these did catch my interest because of the very unusual notes that they do have. So I thought it would be a good idea to record my first reaction to trying out all of these coffees. In addition to that, we do have the Mystery League coffee, as H&S is the coffee roaster that they were featuring this month. So let's go ahead and introduce the coffees that will be featured in today's video. Beginning with the El Diviso, a wash-processed Colombian coffee. And they do have washed in quotations because once again, these are all slightly altered coffees. So it's not known how washed this coffee actually is or if there's been any sort of adjustments to them. But we move on to the El Diviso, which is a natural processed Colombian coffee. Then we have the Iris Elipse, which is a wash-processed Panamanian coffee. The La Argentina, which is a honey-processed Colombian coffee. And lastly, Birthday Cake, which is the mystery coffee. So happy birthday to the founder, or I should say the owner of H&S. But let's go ahead and move these coffees out of the way for the time being. That gives us an opportunity to shuffle these around. And as always, none of these cups are labeled anywhere except on the bottom. We just like to shuffle them around for good measure, as it also gives us an opportunity to discuss what we have on our hands here today. And I think in theory, on paper, this shouldn't be too difficult of a blind taste test, as I imagine that these coffees are all going to be pretty unique and distinct. And maybe what could possibly trip us up is maybe one of these really funky coffees having a unique taste that could be reminiscent of something that's listed on one of the other coffees, but I really don't know. I imagine that the natural processed Colombian coffee is going to be super easy to pick out. And then outside of that, even the Panamanian coffee, which is supposedly washed, I think had enough of a distinct smell and aroma when brewing the coffee that I don't think that that one will be as overly, we'll say, difficult to differentiate. So I think the only coffee that should come out a little bit more normal is going to be the mystery coffee. But even then, I have no idea what that coffee is, though I do have a pretty good idea from just looking at the coffee itself. And I'm going to take in the aroma of these coffees because I do want to hold off on drinking the natural processed Colombian last, because I imagine after I drink that coffee, it'll be pretty difficult to tell any of the notes from the coffee that follows it. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that one. So we'll move these right here for right now. And let's go ahead and get started. Cup number 1. Okay, I don't believe that this is the natural. Oh my God, wow. That's gonna be the pizza coffee. That tastes like pizza. That is wild. It tastes so much like pizza crust and bread. Wow. It tastes like, I can't make this up. It actually tastes like a pizza. I can taste like pizza sauce, and it is absolutely obscene and it is wild. And I really don't know what to make of that. That is one of the most interesting coffees I've ever had. I'm gonna put that right there for right now. That is really weird. I cannot believe my actual reaction to that coffee. Okay, let's move on. Cup number 2. Okay, the only thing was I took in the aroma, I'm like, well, it's not the natural, and then immediately after that, it just hit me in the face with basically this pizza taste. Okay, this is much more normal. And for that reason, it's much better. I'm gonna put this one in first place for right now. It might take me a little bit of time to bounce back from just how weird this coffee was, but this is in first place for right now. It feels a little cleaner, it feels a little less out there, so that's my top coffee. Let's move on to cup number 3. Okay, this one's a natural. I'm going to save this one for last. And like I said, the aroma itself is a pretty dead giveaway, so we'll move on to cup number 4 for the time being. Okay, this one, I imagine this is probably going to be our Panamanian coffee because it has some very out there floral components to it. And I can imagine that for that reason, it should be our Panamanian coffee. I'm going to put it in second place for right now. Surprisingly, very out there florals are a little bit better than pizza. I'm terms of coffee. That's how we have them ranked for right now. Let's move on to cup number 5. Okay. This one's fine. It's a little bit more normal relative to some of the other coffees we've had. I think maybe for right now, I just kind of want to leave the pizza one in third place for the time being, mostly because it was a little bit more unique compared to this one right here. Though I think I have a pretty good idea of what all these coffees are. I'm going to run through these 4 one more time before I try this coffee, because I know I'm not going to be able to taste anything after I try this coffee. I do like this coffee, and it could just be because it is the most normal out of the coffees that we've had so far, but it's actually quite nice. It's got some really nice sweetness and clarity to it. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm guessing that is probably going to be our Panamanian coffee. It's actually quite nice too. Oh man, I can't get over the way that that coffee tastes. That is wild. That is super wild. All right, this one more time. Yeah. Okay. Let's try the last one. So this is the one that has the gochujang note, and we'll see how this one turns out. I mean, it tastes like a natural processed Colombian coffee. It's interesting. When I opened up the bag, it smelled like hot sauce. And then when I brewed the coffee, it smelled much more like a natural processed Colombian coffee. That's interesting though. It kind of has a lingering spice to it in a very unusual way. I can kind of see that mostly because when I first tried it, I'm like, it tastes like a natural processed Colombia, but towards the end, it just has this interesting lingering spiced tone to it. I do have to say, it could be because we're brewing these pretty early. It's not anywhere near as heavy as I might have expected. It is maybe the least heavy natural processed Colombian coffee that we've ever had. I'm going to place it in last. I don't think that will come as a surprise to anybody. I'm going to move these here for right now. And I'm very confident in all of our guesses. So let's go ahead and take these guesses. So this one right here, right from the moment I picked it up, I knew it was the El Diviso, the natural processed Colombian coffee. This one right here, I imagine it's probably going to be that honey processed one. I'm just gonna put this one too. El Diviso, this is the pizza. No doubt about it. This one I imagine is probably going to be our honey processed Colombian coffee. A little bit more tame than I might have expected, but given that everything on this table is absolutely out there. So the Panamanian coffee, as mentioned, those florals. And then last is going to be our Mystery League coffee, which is actually first place because it's my favorite because it's the most normal out of these coffees. All right, let's see how we did. I'm 100% confident on this one. That should say the, how did I label these? It should say parentheses NC for natural processed Colombia. And no surprise. Okay, pretty dead giveaway, though I do have to say, once again, not quite as heavy as I was expecting. I can see the gochujang note, and that might make for an interesting review. But let's move on. This one right here, I said was the honey processed Colombia, so it should say HC. And it is. Truth be told, maybe it's because we've had some coffees here that are just so wild and out there. This one could pass as a very normal coffee, unless maybe when I try it in an isolated setting, it does not appear that way. But after trying it on this first impression, it seems a little bit more normal, at least relative to these two coffees and even this one. So that was kind of the giveaway on that one. Let's move on to this coffee right here. I should have really drawn a pizza or something like that, but this is going to be the wash processed Colombia. Man, I couldn't make that up if I tried. That coffee is just out there. I think a lot of people have already tried this coffee too, but it's something. All right, let's move on. This one right here should say WP for Wash Processed Panama. And yes. As mentioned, it's got some very out there florals, some slightly unnatural floral components to it. They're pretty nice, and this was actually the main motivating factor for me purchasing the entire set because I wanted to try the pizza coffee and I slightly wanted to try the gochujang coffee, but I definitely wanted to try the Panama, so I said, let's just get the entire set. Let's see how this turns out, but this one's going to be interesting. We'll see how that coffee turns out. I still have the spice taste of that natural processed Colombia lingering on the palate. That's a weird coffee. All right, that means first place is the mystery coffee, and it is a mystery. I don't really want to give too much away since this is supposed to be a competition and people are kind of supposed to guess on what that coffee is, though I have a pretty good idea of what this coffee is supposed to be in theory. So 5 for 5. I think this is actually a relatively short blind taste test video because of just how easy it was to pick out these coffees, but I think it was worth it based off of the reaction I gave for this coffee. This coffee is just absolutely something. Yeah, we're gonna leave this blind taste test at that. As I always say, if you guys enjoy these blind taste test videos, give this video a like. They take the most amount of time to do, but they are by far the most fun as well. We will be having a review of all of these coffees coming up on the channel here in the distant future because a lot of these coffees are hyper light, so it's going to take forever for me to actually review them. I'm going to rest all of these coffees for the requested resting period. So this was just kind of a start to get a glimpse into what these coffees are going to be. And if you guys are enjoying the content as well, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And this right here has been a blind taste test rankings video featuring 5 H&S coffees. Thank you for watching.